सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
You know, in every government's life, there are peaks and there are troughs. There are good times and there are bad times. Now, the interesting thing about Mr. Modi's government, about this version of the BJP, is that so far it's been mainly peaks. Even if there have been troughs, they've covered them up. They've hardly been commented. The media has not commented on them. Everybody is focused on the peaks. And the impression has gone around that this government is almost invincible, that it's led by undeniably a very charismatic and popular prime minister, but also by a very super competent prime minister who knows how to do things. Nothing can go wrong. And the opposition were just a bunch of squabbling incompetents or jokers. They pose no threat to the government. Now, on the whole, this image is endured, and who knows, it may endure going forward. And this is the one time, I think, when the troughs are too noticeable to ignore. It's been going badly for the government ever since Karnataka happened. You could argue, I did, that the Karnataka election was probably going to be difficult for the BJP because it had a very unpopular state government, that there was going to be anti-incumbency and that the Congress would win. I believe that. Many other people believe that. But here's the thing, the BJP didn't believe that. The BJP believed it was going to win. It believed that regardless of how incompetent the chief minister had been, the Modi magic would come to its rescue. The prime minister would barnstorm the state. People would forget about how badly they'd been governed. They'd vote for Mr. Modi just as they did at the last parliamentary election. Well, that didn't work. Mr. Modi did what he could, but the problems were just too great. After Karnataka, it's been one trough after another. There's been the Balasore train accident. Now, I don't want to play politics about it. I don't think it's a political issue. It's a human tragedy. It's a national tragedy. On the other hand, there is no doubt that it does take the sheen of the government, mainly because it's been advertised the government where the railways are now meritocratically run. Nothing goes wrong. They're on par with the best in the world. The prime minister himself has been so closely associated with the new trains, with the improvements in the railways, that an accident like this, we still don't know what caused it, is bound to affect the image of the government. It takes the sheen of the government. Then there are the other cases where the government has seemed all-powerful. Whenever people worried about Arogya Setu, they worried about COVID, we were told, don't worry, this government is technologically completely solid. There is no danger of anything leaking. But we've had these leaks from the CoWIN app. Now, the government has not denied that there are leaks from the CoWIN app. Instead, it says, curious statement, that there is no new leak from the CoWIN app, that the information that's now being provided is actually based on an earlier leak. Okay, that's not terribly reassuring, because even if there was no leak this time, you're conceding that there was a leak, which means this image that the government has built of being technologically perfect, of knowing how to protect data, is not quite right. Then there are the problems of political management. I said some weeks ago that Mr. Modi prides himself on never changing his mind, on ignoring agitations, on waiting till problems go away because he has the political goodwill and the stamina to be able to last them out. And I said I thought this approach was not going to work with the wrestlers. I thought that the wrestlers' protest had captured the public imagination, the national imagination, and the imagination of Modi supporters. It's very difficult for any government to say that we will support our chap, even though he's accused of criminal cases, even though he's accused of molesting women, against these wrestlers, because these wrestlers are liars. When you see people who won medals for India protesting in the streets, the government played this all wrong, and I said a few weeks ago, he's going to have to change his mind. Well, he's changed his mind. They're now engaging with the wrestlers. A meeting was set up with Amit Shah. The outlines of a settlement were worked out. They met the sports minister. The sports minister guaranteed that the man they were complaining about, Brij Bhushan Singh, would not occupy any post in the wrestling body, and the police have now filed a charge sheet against him. So maybe they haven't got everything they wanted, but they've got a lot. And they've managed to make Mr. Modi take notice. That's one example of the failure of that kind of political management. But there's another more spectacular example. The BJP has been claiming now for some time that it is the preeminent party in the Northeast. If you know Northeastern politics, you will know that it exists in a world of its own, that frequently Northeastern politicians join national political parties. But that depends on their perception of those political parties. It's not that they necessarily grew up within those parties. So as more and more people have flocked to the BJP, it's been able to claim that it is the natural party of governance, the preeminent party in the Northeast. Well, in that case, why has it done nothing about Manipur? There's a BJP government in place in Manipur. But Manipur has been burning for 5 weeks at least now? Just today, more deaths were reported. People are being assassinated, buildings are being built, guns are being stolen. For a month after the problems began, the Home Minister did not go to Manipur. Presumably he felt it could be sorted out without his involvement. Well, it can't. He's had to go to Manipur, and I'm not sure it's been sorted out at all. The problems persist. That's another failure of political management. And then there's the problem about perception management. We know it's no secret. The mainstream media is, shall we say, sympathetic to the BJP. But social media has always had a reputation for being somewhat more outspoken. People have said that the BJP has tried its hardest to control social media for that reason. It was alleged when there was a controversy a couple of years ago that Facebook was a subsidiary of the IT cell. And it's been suggested that pressure was put on Twitter, that there were raids. A message was sent out saying, you have to censor people who are criticizing us. There was no way of proving this. But recently, Jack Dorsey, who used to own Twitter, who since sold it to Elon Musk, has come out and said, yes, there was pressure on us. We were told it would be shut down. We were told we'd be raided. We were told our employees' homes would be raided. This seems to confirm every fear people had about the government putting pressure on Twitter. Now, the government's response has been to say that Dorsey is lying, that none of this ever happened. Maybe. I mean, you have to decide who you're going to believe. But the old maxim that works in these cases is who benefits. Does Dorsey, who's now sold Twitter, benefit from lying about the Indian government? It's hard to see how. Does the Indian government benefit from denying that this happened? I think the answer is obvious. So when you have these reverses coming one after the other, it doesn't necessarily mean your government is in trouble. Most governments go through, as I said, these troughs. But what it does mean is that the image you've conveyed of invincibility, that nothing can go wrong, you're politically astute, you're technologically sound, that everything works in your government, is now in danger. If that continues, and there's no reason to believe it'll continue, it's quite possible that Mr. Modi will recapture the narrative next week and the government will get its act together. But if it does continue, then there could be problems. There have been two essential poles to this government's appeal. The first has been the pole of super competence, great administration, astute political management. And the second has been, we want to create a Hindu Rashtra. Now, if the first does not work, and it hasn't worked for the last month, then they have to go on to the second, which is the Hindutva stuff. Perhaps they're already going down that road. If you looked at the parliament inauguration, the inauguration of the new building, and you looked at the whole Sengol ritual, there was already a sense of Hindu ritualism in that. We have more coming. We have the opening of the Ayodhya temple. We have talk, perhaps, judging by what the law commission is saying, of imposing a uniform civil code. So could it be that the next year, politics will not be about competence or charisma? They'll be about Hindutva. They'll be about whether we want to be a Hindu nation, about Hindu revivalism, Hindu triumphalism, Hindu pride, telling the minorities they don't have the right to their own personal law, that India should have one law. Are these going to be the issues the next election is fought on? It's possible. And if these reverses continue, certainly that's safer ground for the BJP. Is it safer ground for India? Does it bode well for us? Well, you decide.